Hi, everybody. Tom Van Hoy with Pitt State Softball coach Elizabeth Economon on this edition of the PSU Softball Insider Show. The Pitt State Gorillas played 4 doubleheaders at home since last Friday. Really. Split with Nebraska Kearney, MIAA play. 8-0 win, 6-5 loss. Also split a conference doubleheader with Fort Hays State, a 6-5 loss in 9 in Game 1, and 11-3 win in Game 2. Then swept non-conference doubleheaders earlier this week with Newman on Tuesday, 9-0 and 8-0. And then Drury on Wednesday, 11-2 win in 6 innings, hit 6 home runs, and 14-0 in 5 innings in Game 2. 3 more home runs in that one. In fact, Tiffany Brown hit 3 home runs on the day. Now 26 this year, that's an MIAA record, and 55 home runs in her Pitt State career. 71 RBI, that ties a Pitt State single-season record right now. So Pitt State 6-2 the past week, now 27-23 overall, 9-13 of the MIAA, 10th, off now till April 25th at SBU in Bolivar, continuing conference play then, and the following day, 2 at Central Missouri as well. Pitt State did finish this 18-game homestand at 11-7. So Pitt State off last weekend. What did Coach Economon do?
I missed the kids. It was weird for them not being there, but it's nice for them to have a nice 2-3 day weekend to go visit their families. So we took a couple days off, rest their bodies. You know how it is at the end of a season; everybody's a little run down. So it was a little bit out of character. We were kind of bored, but we're ready to get back at it today.
So it was built in, though?
Yeah, it was. We had changed the schedule at our last meeting at the end of the season last year to build in a weather makeup weekend because we had some issues with playing all of our conference games last season. So we built in a makeup weekend, and I think only 2 teams utilized one of the days. Everybody else had pretty good luck with the weather somehow, amazingly. So I think just about everybody, with the exception of 2 teams, had the weekend off.
When it comes down to it, I mean, obviously with the weather a factor for everybody, is there a certain percentage of games the teams in the MIAA have to play?
As far as our conference goes, we are going to go at any length to play all of our conference games. So that's kind of the unwritten rule, I guess you could say, that whatever we have to do to play every single game, we will do. And the conference itself has been really successful in the past of making sure we get all the games in. Last year was an exception, and I think that's why they built this in.
Well, since we last talked, you played 8 games. Hard to remember all of them, right? So
yeah. Some things certainly stand out.
And talk about we'll talk about all of them at one point. But
okay.
As you go back to Wednesday against Drury, you win 11-2 and 14-5. But prior to that, against Newman, 9-0 and 8-0. Let's go back to the Newman doubleheader on Tuesday, and it looks like obviously very good offensively, and your pitching was very good in that one too. Yeah,
we were really happy to put it all together. Played error-free defense in the 9-0 game. Pitchers did a really good job this whole past 8 games and streak in 5 days or whatever. We had very few walks. Our defense really picked it up behind them, and then that kind of sprung the offense into action. We had a lot of good at-bats, good quality at-bats, and got through quite a few of our opposing pitchers. So, yeah, error-free defense against Newman helped quite a bit.
Offensively, has it been up and down this year, or overall, how do you think you've been offensively this year?
I've been very pleased overall. I think we've had a couple games here and there where we've struggled to put runs on the board, and I think that's pretty normal. You're going to run into a pitcher every once in a while that's got her stuff working. Excuse me. And so for us to consistently put runs on the board, I've been very pleased with that, and I hope we can continue to do that. We're going to need to do that for the next weekend coming up.
Yeah, I asked you that before we're talking about the 9 home runs you hit against Drury, but that had to be a big offensive day for you, the 11-2 win in 6, and then 14-5 hit 6 home runs in Game 1, and then 3 more in Game 2, and obviously highlighted by Tiffany Brown, who had 3 of them, and now, 26, and MIAA record, 55 in her career, and even 71 RBI to tie a Pitt State record. She's had a phenomenal career for Pitt State.
Yeah, she is a very special player. We're so happy that she's been here for her career. The games against Drury they were fun to watch. You just knew when everybody stepped to the plate, there was a chance that they could do something big, and Tiffany did it more often than everybody else, which we've come to expect and rely on a little bit, but amazing things can happen as soon as she steps in the box. So she's been a lot of fun to watch. Obviously I want her to keep doing that for the next 4 games, get us into the postseason, and then tear it up a little bit more. But she is a very special athlete, a lot of fun to watch, a lot of fun to coach, to work with. She gets it. She wants to be better. She's never satisfied. So for her to set the MIAA record single season is, 26 home runs is, I've never seen it. I've never seen anything like it.
Well, when you have someone that hits that number of home runs, I think that maybe some of your other offensive players kind of get lost in the shuffle as well. But you've had some other players this year that have good seasons for you.
Yeah, we really have. Mackenzie Reinert's hitting right behind Tiffany in the batting order in the 4th spot, and she's very quietly hitting .434 with 16 home runs.
Wow.
And yeah, so she's kind of getting lost in the shuffle, like you said. But if she weren't behind Tiffany, I don't know that Tiffany would be having the success that she is, because we're still seeing a lot of teams pitch to Tiffany. She's only got 31 walks on the season, which is remarkable at this point. I expected her to start getting pitched around, but when you have Mackenzie right behind her hitting for a little bit higher average and just as much power, it's, pick your poison. So it's been really good for Tiffany to have Mac, and really good for Mac to have Tiffany.
Are there other teams in the league that have the kind of power that you do?
To a certain extent. I think Washburn has, for the majority of the conference season, or the overall season, Washburn was leading in total home runs as a team. And UCO, once we played Washburn down here, we took that number from them, and we've kind of run away with it at this point. Central Oklahoma hits for higher average than we do. And I wouldn't say they have more power than we do, but they have a lot more speed. So they're a little bit more of a mixture. So from all the teams we've seen, and we haven't seen Southwest Baptist or Central Missouri, but I think we have the most potent offense as far as power is concerned, which is a lot of fun to watch.
Do you recruit to that? Obviously, speed. You talked about speed a moment ago with some of the other teams, but obviously, if you can get somebody that's going to hit those kind of home runs, you're going to recruit them.
Right. I tend to gravitate toward the hitters. I think there's, as much as the game used to be so much about speed, it is kind of getting away from that a little bit. And we, of course, want to keep speed in the mix, because it makes everything so much tougher on a defense if you have speed on the base paths. But I tend to gravitate toward the doubles and triples and the home run hitters when we're recruiting, because if they can do that, again, some of these kids are playing summer ball and playing 100, 120, 150 games this summer, so they're seeing all kinds of different pitching all summer. So if they can consistently do that, I feel pretty good about our chances of getting them here and just letting them continue it. So, and we've seen that from some of our freshmen this year. They've jumped right in and been able to attack the ball and haven't really skipped a beat. So, I think that's kind of my philosophy on recruiting, and some places are different. Of course, we go pitching first when we're on the road. We need solid pitching, and then from there, I look offensive.
If you were in the other dugout opposing Tiffany Brown, would you work around her?
Every time. I would work around her more often than we would ever pitch to her, for sure. I would let somebody else beat us. Are
there other players in the league that you do that to?
There are some in certain situations when we've got, there's a couple, I would say one hitter on Washburn is having a great season, one hitter on Missouri Western's having a standout season. So and coming up, Central Missouri's got a junior who's got 20 home runs herself. So there are those 3-4 hitters on a couple different teams that we will, in a certain situation, work around. Now, if we have a lead and nobody's on base, we'll try to go get them and let them get themselves out. But if we're in a situation where they can beat us, we're going to make somebody else beat us.
If somebody's on first base and Tiffany Brown's at bat, are you going to leave them there? You give her a chance to hit rather than put the player in motion. What kind of approach, I guess, do you take with her at the plate and somebody on base?
Yeah, a lot of times, and we have found ourselves in that situation a lot, whether it's our leadoff Brenna or our second hole hitter Cheslin at the time. I typically give, because we don't bunt a ton, I think we have just as good of a chance of scoring from first with nobody out as we do from second with one out. But we'll leave them there a little bit, and if we get into a count where it's good to run or their catcher's not even looking, we may put her in motion, steal that bag, put her in scoring position. But really, if anybody's on base with Tiffany up, they are in scoring position regardless of where they are. So first base is, if she's going to pop it out of the yard, that's obviously not always worth the risk of being thrown out at second base when she has the potential to hit it out and get us 2 RBI.
So you don't want to give up an out, huh?
Yeah, we need every last out we can get.
I mean, it is an interesting philosophical decision to make from a coaching standpoint, isn't it? Because some will move runners up, and not only softball but baseball as well. But is it different, you think, in softball?
I think there's more. I think softball coaches are more apt to move people up. I think there's more sacrifice bunting and less hit and runs in softball than there are in baseball. And we don't follow the typical model, I guess. When I'm looking at our sacrifice bunts, we're probably half of what a lot of teams in our conference have. And that depends a lot, too, on who we're playing and what the score is and who's up and is she seeing the ball well and who's on base and does she have enough speed to beat out the throw. So there's a lot of things that go into it. A lot of times it's just a gut feeling. And we've been lucky so far. There's been a couple instances when we will put down a bunt and it's proved very valuable. And then other times we haven't. We've gotten a double off the wall, and it's just as good. So it's just a lot of a gut feeling, and it'll change every year based on our personnel. And, who knows what's going to happen next year when Tiffany's gone, and we'll still have Mackenzie and Cheslin, and a couple of our younger kids will fill some roles. But we may be more of a bunting and running team next year. We may be more hit and runs. It's hard to tell. But, yeah, that's the fun stuff. That's the game within the game that makes it exciting to coach.
Will you show it even though you're not going to bunt? I mean, early in the count?
Sometimes we'll put it on for a pitch, just kind of to see what the defense is going to do, just to see where they're going to go, what kind of coverage they're in. I would say that's pretty rare at this point because I think now everybody's expecting us to swing. So if they're way back on the corners, some of our quicker kids will drop a bunt on their own, and we're okay with that. But we'll check coverage here and there. Nothing too crazy at this point.
Is there an art to it in softball? I guess from the standpoint that the dimensions are obviously different, but you have to be pretty good to lay it down? Yeah,
in my opinion, too, the bats these days are so hot that you really have to soften that thing up quite a bit, or otherwise it's just going to be a ground ball to the third baseman or the first baseman. But the kids with speed, if they can put the right touch on it, they can certainly beat it out, especially depending on where the corners are starting and how quickly the pitcher gets off the mound. If she doesn't cover a lot of ground, then we're in good shape, because one of their corners is going to have to pick up her slack. So it definitely takes the right touch, and we've got a handful of kids that have the speed to beat it out. So we'll give them the green light if they read the defense and they want to do that to get on base. Then more power to them, and we're okay with that.
Well, you split with Nebraska Kearney. This is like I said, I got to write it down here so I can remember it. And then Fort Hays as well. What kind of teams were those? It appeared they were on paper anyway. From my standpoint, they were pretty competitive ball games.
Yeah, we took the first game against Kearney 8-0, I believe, and we out-hit them 10-2 and had good pitching. So that was a little disheartening, I guess you could say, to come back and drop the back end of the doubleheader. And it was a good game. It was 6-5. We didn't play very good defense, which doesn't help our pitchers out much. And then, to score 5 runs, you'd like to think that's enough. They were competitive. Kearney's that team that's kind of scrappy in a way that they're going to throw you strikes. And they're going to make their mistakes on defense, but they're going to swing the bat just as much as you are. So, we knew it was going to be a battle from every single pitch. So, we had a chance to take that game, the second game, and had the tying run thrown out at the plate. So, it's something that stings a little bit, but we learned from it. 6-5, not like we got blown out of the water. So, and then we knew Fort Hays the next day is a much more refined team, I guess you could say. They have better pitching overall. They had a very successful, I think the most successful season in school history last year, and thankfully graduated their All-American, all-world pitcher who's now playing somewhere in Italy for a professional team, which is great.
Wow.
She was a standout, so we were happy to see her go, obviously, but they jumped in. They had a sophomore pitcher who was there last year to learn with that other kid, and then they got another transfer, so we knew they weren't going to really fall off too much. But at the same time, we knew that we were competitive with them last year when they did have their standout. So we thought we had a good chance to take 2. And the first game was 6-5 again, so it was like a repeat of the Kearney game. So that was a little frustrating. And again, we didn't play great defense. I think we had 2 or 3 errors maybe, which came back to bite us. And then the go-ahead home run in extra innings. So we had our chances. We're in that game where I think in the bottom of the 7th we're right at Tiffany, Mackenzie Reinard, and Nicole Neese were 3, 4, 5 in the bottom of the 7th. So you couldn't have written it any better than that. So we liked our chances there, and then they came up empty and had to go to the top of the 9th, I think, is when Fort Hays hit their solo home run to go ahead, which was frustrating. But then we used that to, obviously, 2 tough losses back-to-back, 6-5. We used that to fuel our fire, and we jumped out big. And in Game 2 against Fort Hays, we scored first, and then they answered back, which was frustrating. And then we broke it open in the bottom of the second. I think we scored 4 in the second, 6 in the third. So we really put it on them, out hit them 15-5, and played much better defense that game than we had the first. So we're happy for a split. We would have liked to have taken 3 games that weekend. Obviously, leave the weekend 3-1 would put us in a better spot in the conference standings. But to take one from Hays in the manner that we did was, I would say, a confidence booster for our kids.
Hey, before we talk about this week in a moment about the seniors that you honored as well, I guess, between games at Fort Hays and
yeah,
some young ladies that have been to the program for a while and been very productive for you.
Yeah, we did. We took some time in between the doubleheader to honor our seniors, which is always risky. You know, it's such an emotional moment for the kids, and their families are all there, and our underclassmen are giving them gifts and taking pictures, and so it's kind of it's a great honor for them, and they deserve, all 4 of these seniors are from Haley Sills to Sam Grove, Brenna George, and Tiffany Brown, have been hugely important in our success in building this program. Obviously, Brenna and Tiffany are in the everyday lineup, leading off and hitting third and having both great senior seasons. And Haley Sills and Sam have both been taking their turn in the circle and have been really instrumental in shutting down our opponents. So it's really nice from a coaching standpoint to see how these kids are playing their best softball as seniors. So in a sense, our teaching and our maturation process and getting these kids through our program, they're peaking right now, which is what we want. We don't want the kids to come in after we recruit them and play their best softball and then just plateau or fall off. We want them to continue to get better as they get smarter and have better instincts about the game. So these 4 are, I couldn't imagine a better group, and I think I said that last year too about our seniors, and it's been a nice. Every year we have the same thing, which is great. Obviously, next year I think we'll have great kids again. So, and it's nice to have them represent our program on their way out and have a great experience and have a lot of success and know that they're part of building what we hope is, a program that wins for the long term.
All right, he headed to Bolivar this weekend on Friday to take on SBU, and then up to Warrensburg on Saturday against Central Missouri. And right now at 27-23, 9 and 13, 10th in the MIAA. What do you need to do this weekend to have a chance to get into the playoff? I
think from our standpoint, we need to go 4-0. And I'll tell the kids, we need to take care of the first game at Southwest Baptist first. We can't jump ahead and think about the last game at Central Missouri. So we're going to go one pitch at a time. Starting with SBU on Friday. But I really think we need to go ahead and take care of our business, take 4 games, and then if we get a little help from our friends up at the top, we might take care of Northeastern State and Lindenwood Forest and bump them down a little bit. I think we could jump 2 spots and sneak in as an 8. That's our goal, obviously. If we sneak in as 8, we'll probably get Emporia State first round, and I can't imagine they would want to see us after we had the extra inning game with them just a couple weeks ago. So I think it's similar to what we did last year. We were kind of in the same position where going into our last weekend last year, we had to go 4-0, and it was a test to our team to see how resilient we could be and how we could play under pressure, and they excelled. It was a great weekend last year. So unfortunately, we have to go on the road to do it this year, which makes everything a little more difficult, but it's kind of exciting. Not that we want to be in the position to just sneak into the postseason, but it is exciting in a sense that every game has been important, and these 4 will be no different. So we have to go in and be competitive from the start and really put all of our 3 sides of the game together and take care of business. And if we do our job, I think we'll get in. That's Pitt State softball coach Elizabeth Economon on this edition of the PSU Softball Insider Show. Going down the stretch, regular season, and in the MIAA. Up next, it is SBU in Bolivar the 25th, and then at Central Missouri the 26th. That's it for the MIAA and regular season play this year. I'm Tom Van Hoy.
Tom Van Hoy.